we're very lucky in the athletic department with everything that we've got going. I mean, Coach Newman Gonchar's done a great job with our volleyball team competing for championships. I mean, Coach Gosson's here now, and he's going to lead right where Coach Franklin left off. I mean, he said he's got big shoes to fill, but you know what? Eddie did a great job in picking the individual to perfectly fit that position. And then Heather, don't let her buffalo you. She's an unbelievable coach, and they've got off to a great start. And I'm really grateful to Heather being so supportive of us using the north end of her practice field because they're redoing our practice fields. I mean, it's the culture that Eddie and David have set around here, and we work with wonderful people. We don't recognize the people that do things often enough. Our facilities crew, Tim, has done a great job monitoring all those things and all the people that work under him, and our social media stuff. I mean, everybody, Chase and his group, and welcoming Brandon Ortega within football, Jonathan Tibbetts and all, I mean, everybody, and I'm going to offend somebody by not naming them, but they do such a phenomenal job for our athletic department. Everything that you guys see, it's awesome. That's what they put out and what they give to you guys. Off topic, Nate Dreiling, the defensive coordinator at New Mexico State, his family is going through a hardship with Alexa being announced. They're announcing it, and I think it's awesome that they're sharing her fight with breast cancer. My mother-in-law is a breast cancer survivor. So our prayers are with him and his family on this challenge that they're going to endeavor. And I'm sure we'll talk about it more in a couple of weeks, but I just wanted them to know that they're getting prayers from up here from our football program. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in the community of Albuquerque who are praying for them because they've got a battle ahead of them that they're going to win. And they have all the support from up north. So that was, I wanted to touch on that. Now let's talk about football. We got an opportunity to play in 5 days. It's a great opportunity. We get to go down to Texas A&M. We went there in 21, and after 9 minutes, it was 14-0. I don't think our kids were, I thought they were a little bit intimidated when we got to Kyle Field the Friday night before the game, and I hope that's not the case this time. I think they're excited to go play. The great thing about the first game of the season, we're going to collect a check for $1.6 million to help our athletic department, and we're going to go have some fun playing this football game. We're going to go out there and we're going to compete. They are a very, very talented football team. Coach Fisher has done a great job in amassing talent. They might have had a little bit of a struggle last year, but when you've got that much talent and you've got as good a coaches as they have, on both sides of the ball. I mean, he hired Bobby Petrino to be the offensive coordinator, and DJ Durkin. All three of those guys have been head coaches. Bobby Petrino, and all that talk and nonsense about how are they going to work together, who's going to call the plays, all that stuff. Bobby Petrino's been a head coach for a long time, and he understands the role of an assistant football coach, just like Coach Long did last year when he was here. So they're not going to have any issues with that. They've got two great offensive minds working together, which will just make them that much better. And then Coach Durkin was the head coach at Maryland. He's done a really good job. Last year they were pretty good on defense. They're really talented. Up across the front, they're 6'4", 6'5", 290. They're twitchy. They're fast. They play. It's fun to watch them play on tape. They get after it up front. And then Monty Richardson, their secondary. He's obviously all SEC for a reason. And then they announced quarterback Connor Wigman, who's a really good player, played really good at the end of last year, so he has some experience in a great league. Aeneas Smith, he returned punts against us in 2020, and we had trouble tackling him. I was hoping he was going to go to the NFL. He didn't, so we get to go have fun and compete against him again. And then Amar Daniels, their running back, he is really, really patient. He runs really, really hard, and he's downhill, and he's physical. They've got pieces all over the place. They're picked in some of the places in some places to be a preseason CFP team, which is, they're going to be every bit as talented as USC was when they played San Jose State on Saturday. So what does that mean? That means it's a great opportunity for our football team to go compete against great football players. And whatever happens on Saturday doesn't define our season. We're going to go compete, and if we can get through the first 10 minutes of the excitement of everything that's happening, they've got a new intro and new entertainment. They got a brand new, and this must be really, really impressive, because if you watch the video of their football players seeing their brand new indoor for the first time, for everything that they have there, and as awe and inspired as they were, they've done something really, really special. And so that's pretty neat. So we'll get to see all that, and you can say all the cliches you want. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like us. The reality is we're going to play a football team, that is big and talented, and we've got some kids on our team that we think are big and talented, and it's going to be a heck of a football game. So with that, I'll open up to any questions.
DC told me today that you called him into his office to talk about what happened last year, being on App State, going down there and beating Texas A&M 17-14. What can you tell us about that conversation?
I just asked him how much fun he had. I mean, there's 100,000 people there. There's a lot of pressure on A&M. I mean, if you listen to some of the stuff, their press conference stuff yesterday, all the reporters, and it's not pressure on within their football program. And I think Coach Fisher's really good. I bet you he done carries, addressed it with his team. They talked about the UMass game, Sam Houston, and App State last year, and how do they avoid a team like New Mexico coming in and having the same success. They're going to be ultra focused and ready. My question to DC was, how much fun did you have? I mean, App State played really, really good. I mean, they kept Texas A&M off the field, and they kept the ball away from them. They had the ball for 41-some minutes. So my deal was more of, I wanted a fan perspective with DC, how much fun he had, because that's one heck of a deal. I mean, App State did it in 2007 to Michigan. They did it last year at Texas A&M. So, I mean, he was a part of that as being on their team, and pretty cool.
You can scout for their players and their schemes all you can, but there's no way to really scout the SEC environment, 100,000 people. I'm just curious, how big of a challenge is that for you and the players?
If we can keep the game close, we did some stuff today. We have some speakers on a cart that we had about 8 feet behind the quarterback, so they can emulate the noise. I mean, you can't emulate that atmosphere, but the noise, we can have all that right there where they couldn't hear it. We had a couple of procedure issues, which is good we did it today. We'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it Thursday. You can't really simulate 100,000 people, but you can make it really, really loud right there behind them, so that'll be similar. The longer the game's close, if we can keep it close, the louder it'll get, and all those good things. So we'll do everything we can in that aspect of it. It helps having it at the indoor, because we can close those doors and make it echo. And we had heaters in there last week to try, and we got the humidity up to 45% in there, which is what it's going to be there, except it wasn't 100 degrees outside, unfortunately. If we could have saved those 15 straight days in July of 100 degrees and pushed them to now, I would have really appreciated it. But I guess our father had different plans, so it is what it is. It was 80 degrees this week, and but we did get the humidity up there by the end of practice. They were sweating and all that good stuff, so it'll be fine. The sun won't be out like it was 2 years ago. Being at 6 o'clock, that Kyle Field's tall, the sun will be gone. So. What else?
Coach, you're getting ready for that environment, but are you also just looking at it as, hey guys, we're about to go play in this type of environment? This is kind of a motivation rather than.
No, it's a big time motivation. We're no sacrificial lamb, I can promise you that. We'll go over there on Friday when we get there so that they can see what it looks like. They can take all their pictures and do all those things, because it is really cool. I mean, even for a coach, it's really cool to go in those kinds of environments if you don't play them every week. When I was at Arizona State, I mean, we went to Michigan State, unbelievable environment, really cool stadium. We played at SC, we played at UCLA, we played at Washington. I mean, those things, when you do them every single week, your kids kind of get used to it. Since we don't do it every single week, they'll have an aha moment on Friday. We'll do our walkthrough, and then they'll be fine. It'll be just like playing in any other stadium. I mean, but it's a really neat experience for them. And as a coach, you can make it way too big. There's no reason to make it bigger than it is. We're going there to play one football game. We have 12 guaranteed opportunities. I think we have a pretty talented football team that has high aspirations and high goals. And nobody in the entire country thinks that we're going to be worth the darn. So we're going to take it one at a time. And good football teams, the good football teams that I've been a part of, they do everything like you're supposed to do it. They don't overreact when big plays happen. They don't underreact when nothing. I mean, it's steady, stay the course, and good things usually happen if you can do that for long periods of time.
Injury-wise, has anybody been ruled completely out or not expected to play against A&M?
Diarco's still not cleared to play. Outside of that, your typical bumps and bruises. Jeremiah's been full speed since his little nerve deal, and everybody else will be expected to play on Saturday.
Hunter Sellers is back up to speed.
He's back to speed. Practice today. Look full speed. He's in the depth on defense, but he'll help on special teams more than he will on defense.
And is there a chance that maybe Diarco could end up playing and could get cleared to play?
I don't know. There's a chance, but I don't think so right now. We're preparing as if he's not.
Speaking of the depth chart as well, I noticed on the safety depth chart too, I guess maybe I might have misinterpreted at some point, but I mean, Derek Moore was listed as the backup Lobo. From what you had told us previously, if something were to happen to Tavian, you'd probably bump Christian over to back to Lobo and then bring up another Wolf safety. Is Derek Moore, true freshman, the true backup Lobo at this point?
The way he's practiced the last few days, he is. For every true freshman you play, you count on losing football games. So ideally, Tavian can stay healthy. Tavian's one of our best players on our football team. If he gets bumped and bruised, Derek can go in there if it's a long-term plan. I mean, we didn't have a long-term plan last year until Tavian got hurt and tore his ACL, and then A.J. Halsey stepped up as a true freshman. Derek Moore is getting most of the practice reps. Christian Ellis has played that position and practiced it through fall camp just to make sure that he had the feel and what goes on in there. But he's also proven to be one of our best players on defense. So he's got the opportunity to start. He can play both spots. Derek has come a long way, but Derek Moore is a freshman. And so if he continues to progress like he has over the last 2 weeks, I feel comfortable with Derek Moore being in there.
And then,
So just speaking about the depth chart, Tyler Keeney getting the start for the first time, what's been the biggest thing about his development over the last year?
The weight room. He's physically changed his body, and give him the credit. I mean, Coach Baker does a great job with those guys, but he had to be driven. We told him he was a little bit too heavy in different places when he got here. He transformed and took that to heart instead of pouting. Now, they wanted him to be a 300-pound three technique at UCLA, and that's not who Tyler Keeney's best at. He could have gotten up to that weight and been a good player. It would have taken him a couple years. He's around 275 pounds right now, and he looks really, really quick like he did in high school, and that's why he got recruited by UCLA. He's done a really good job both on the football field and off the football field in the weight room of getting to where he needs to be. Bryce Santana has done a really good job also. Bryce pulled his hamstring and is just now, probably for the first time today, was full speed. And then Tavian Ford behind Tyler, he's really talented. And he has really come a long way during fall camp. His biggest thing right now is he's 290 pounds and he gets tired a little bit. But between those guys, I mean, we have 8, we think, in the front that can rotate. If we can get 35 to 40 plays out of our starters, which are Tyler, Kyler, and Gabe Lopez, and they're in the game in critical moments, we have a chance to be better up front than we were last year. Because we have some depth that we don't feel there's a significant drop-off. You take Kyler Drake out and you put Destin Gaynor in, there's not a drop-off. And so we haven't had that luxury, so that's exciting.
So many games got away from you after halftime last year. Competitive for 2 quarters. Offense doesn't stay on the field to support the defense. Do you think you can sustain drives this weekend with your offense?
That's why Coach Vincent's here. So you'll get a chance to talk to him during the week. He's told me he will. I think our offense has come a long way. If you ask our kids on defense, fall camp was significantly more competitive because of it, which is good. If we can keep the ball away on Saturday, we have a lot better chance of being successful. I think we have some pieces. The 2 running backs that are going to see most of the action on Saturday, Ja'Cory Merritt and Christian Washington, they've run really violent over the last 3 weeks. And that doesn't mean anything if the 5 guys in front of them don't do a good job. And I like our starting 5 offensive linemen. I think they're pretty good, and we've got 3 behind them that we can move around in pieces to give us depth. We're going to travel 11. 2 of them are still a little bit behind where we want them to be in order to step in, especially the environment we're going. But if we can run the ball, then we'll be able to sustain some drives. And I mean, 8 of our 12 games were 1-score games in the fourth quarter last year. We just couldn't score any points. You score 12 points a game, you're not going to win many. So we've got to obviously put the ball in the end zone and get first downs and keep it moving.
Is that a selling point to the team, guys? If we could just do this a little better, then the outcome's different for us?
Significantly. They know that too. I mean, those guys are so into social media and ESPN and everything that everybody says. I mean, somebody asked me the other day, Timmy Chang is a really good friend of mine, doing a fantastic job at Hawaii. They're talking about how he shows them everything. They're pick this, they're pick this. I guarantee you, every single player on our football team knew we were picked 12th with 60 points in that poll. I promise you that. They are very aware of it. And I'm glad they're aware of it. They have a good attitude about it. All that means nothing unless we go out there and lay an egg on the field. If we go out there and perform like this football has the potential to, then nobody will talk about it. I'll remind everybody, but nobody else will talk about it. They know all those things, and they know that if we score more points, we're going to be more successful. If we score more points, then the defense is going to be better because we're not going to be on the field as long. I mean, all those things, they're very aware. We point them out, but we have a smart football team and a more mature football team than I anticipated going into fall camp, which is exciting.
How excited are you to call plays again?
You know what? You get into a rhythm during the game. I called plays during the game last year too. I mean, it was that hasn't changed. That was the one thing that being the head coach, when me and Coach Long conversed, if I wanted to do something, I got to do it. And the thing that Coach Long is, we've talked over the last. I talked to him quite a bit still because when I was gone at Arizona State, we compared notes as often as we could, more so as often as I could with him. And he's been unbelievable and was unbelievable during the season. Never questioned anything. So I mean, that part of it's good, but there's not going to be a change from within our kids or what the expectation is or what they're seeing from the sideline. All those things. The game planning on Monday is a little bit different because we used to sit back there together. When I was gone, when I was at San Diego State, we were separate and then we'd come together. When I was at Arizona State, we did the same thing. When I was with Tony White, who's the defensive coordinator at Nebraska, we'd go separate and then we'd come together and compare notes. Last year, we'd sit together and do things. So we went back to putting a game plan together and then we come together as a defensive staff and collaborate. Today was a big emphasis on a certain portion of the game plan. Tomorrow will be the same, and then Thursday we'll put it all together.
And on that note, is Coach Vincent going to be on the sideline or in the booth?
Is who?
Coach Vincent.
Coach Vincent will be down the sideline. Myself, Coach Vincent, and Coach Reppert will all be down the sideline.
Going back to the depth chart a little bit too, I'm assuming it's probably just an injury thing, but Andrew Henry was listed at the bottom of the running back depth. Has something changed that situation, or is it just kind of that high ankle sprain?
No, his ankle sprain is still, today was probably the best that he's looked since still not 100%. He will go on the trip and have an opportunity to get to him, but he's not listed on the bottom other than that's where he's been the last 2 weeks because he hasn't been able to practice. But he should be fine. I would guess he'll be 100% by the time we play New Mexico State. I would say it's going to be 2 more weeks before he's totally 100% ready to go. But he looked better today than he's looked the last 4 or 5 days.
A couple of the oars too on the chart. One at right tackle between Travis Gray and Devin Smith, and then the other one at between Trace and Magnus at the wide tight end spot. Can you talk about those a little bit and why those have kind of ended up being oars?
Devin and Trey are, depending on what we're doing within the game plan. I mean, they've both shown significant improvement. Devin got the flu and missed about 8 days and lost a significant amount of weight. Travis took advantage of that time and really made some progress, which is better for our football team. And then Trace and Magnus, they both do different things really, really well. So they are both starters. Depending on what we're doing and how we're using the tight end will be dependent on which one's in. The great part about it is you can't see Magnus is in the game and know we're not going to run plays that we only run when Trace is in there, and vice versa. Now, they do have a different skill set when it comes to certain things, but they can both do both things that both guys are good at. Magnus is 6'7". I mean, you can't teach that. I mean, that's recruiting. Trace's lower body has developed into a giant human being in his lower body. He's just stuck at 6'4". I mean, 2 years ago, if we were complaining about a 6'4", 250-pound tight end, I mean, that was a giant on our football team. Trace just kind of fits in the mix now, which that's a positive. But Trace is really, really athletic and can do some things, and that was our biggest concern is if he gets too big, he'll lose some of his mobility. He hasn't. So he's probably where I don't want Trace to get any bigger, but he can do some things. If you go back to the 21 Wyoming game, the 4th and 3 touchdown that he caught, there wasn't anybody catching up to him, and we still expect him to be able to make plays like that.
Backup quarterback is another or. You've said in the past that really it'd be dependent on game situation, on who kind of has the lean in the backup spot there. Preparing for A&M, who kind of has the lean? Both.
DC's been in that position, in that stadium, has a little bit of experience in that way. Devin is done a really good job. He's a true freshman. Depending on how the game is going, if we were need to make a change at quarterback, if something happened to Dylan, knock on wood that we're not talking about that. Depending on how we're moving the ball and what's working for us would depend on who goes in. So they both, like I said, when we announced that, They both earn the right to be the backup quarterback. It just depends on the situation and what's working, which guy would play.
Danny, this is like year 3.15 for you, because we talked about most of the COVID year.
Right.
I know you talked a lot about taking steps forward at this point. Just curious, if you were sitting amongst a group of fans talking about the team, how would you explain your thoughts on how this team, how the season's going to go? Are you optimistic? Are you hopeful? What do you think?
I'm very optimistic, but I mean, that's probably part of the reason that I irritate a lot of people around here, because I'm a half glass, half full kind of guy. I mean, you've got to take whatever the worst situation is, and I tell our team all the time, I mean, effort, attitude, and want to. You decide that every single day. You decide how hard you're going to work. You decide your attitude, whether you're going to be a good guy or a bad guy, and you decide how bad you want it, what that burn is. You decide that. Nobody can decide that for you. That's been the standard and the expectation of our football program, of our entire athletic department. Everybody has that attitude. You have to have enough talent to make that attitude work. The transfer portal has hurt and helped that cause. The way we were going to build this program when I got here was classes of 25 freshmen, and you develop those guys into great players, and then time their fourth and fifth year, you've got a really tough, developed physical football team. Well, year one, we lose our best running back. Year two, we lose our best linebacker and the best safety. I mean, those things, they changed the model of what we're doing. Well, the transfer portal, they took those guys, but guess what? We added 41 new faces because of it. And there's some really talented players in there that were probably more talented than we would have gotten out of high school and had to develop. So hopefully the development phase will go a little bit faster because they're a little bit more athletic, they're a little bit bigger, they're a little bit stronger. I mean, the young man from here that we developed, Cody, had a great game this past weekend. He was the Mountain West Conference Player of the Week. We developed him for 3 years, and look what he's turned into. They didn't used to be able to take him and lead. So we've got to continue to do that with a little bit more talented guy. I think Demetri Johnson steps into that role, and I'm excited to watch him at the linebacker depth. And then Ray and Alec in the middle. Cy Riley's been a staple for 4 years. He's one of the ones we talked about. We recruited a true freshman. I think Cy Riley's going to be one of the best linebackers in this league. So there's a lot of optimism there. Where the real optimism lies is when we have the ball in our hands. We have a quarterback that has the second most starts in our league behind Chevin Cordero, and Dylan has won multiple big-time games at this level. He, when BYU was going on their run in 21, UAB beat them when they were 10-2 with Dylan at quarterback. So when I was at San Diego State, we played Coach Vincent's offense twice. We had better players than they beat us, so we got out-coached, so we did a great job doing that. I think there's a lot of optimism with what we have at the skill positions that we have not had around here. I mean, I listen to and all the coaches that say they don't listen to this nonsense, they do. I listen to every single one of you guys. I read every single article you guys write. One is being a Lowell fan, two is being a human being. I listen to JJ Buck every single morning that we're not doing stuff, talk about we don't have any dynamic skill players. Heard it for 3 years. He ain't lying, he ain't wrong. We had one. Luke Weissong wasn't able to do it by himself. Well, I think we're going to give JJ a whole bunch to talk about. DJ Washington's pretty talented. Caleb Medford's pretty talented. Jeremiah Hickson's pretty talented. Luke Weissong will have a lot of that pressure taken off him, so he's pretty talented. So I think we've got some guys that Dylan can throw it to. We've got some guys in the running back room between Bill and Christian and Andrew and Zach Behill and Sherrod White, Dorian Lewis. I mean, all those guys are very, very talented and could do different things very, very well. All those things are all great and they're all good and they'll be fun to talk about, but they won't be worth a darn if the 5 guys in front of them don't play. And we finally have a 6'5" tackle in J.C. Davis on the left side that's 320 pounds, that's athletic and can move. Our left guard, Tito Stafford, the transfer from Alabama State, he's 6'5", he's 320 pounds, he's probably about 335 pounds. He still needs to lose some, but he can run around like an athlete. Colin James has done a phenomenal job at center. He's 6'4", 315 pounds. Our right guard, Issei Matatuia, he's 6'4". He's the shortest of them, and he's 6'4", 335 pounds. And then G.J. Wingfield is 6'5". We finally have guys up front that look the part, and they're getting better every single week because the guys behind them are good enough to push them that if they don't come with their A game every single day, they aren't going to be the starters. Somebody else will move right in front of them. See, Colin James had nobody behind him last year that was threatening him playing. And if you're not a elite Michael Jordan type guy, you're not going to push yourself every day to the max unless you have somebody pushing you from behind. The elite ones do. So those 5 guys play good, then we'll have a bunch of smiles around here. If those 5 guys don't play worth a darn, then we're gonna have the same issues we have. And I like those 5 guys. I mean, it's been a struggle with those 5 guys in the past 3 years. I like those 5 guys, what they look like and how they're physically playing.
On those 5 guys, regarding the offensive line, you're more positive. Cam Blankenship is he's admitted he's a little bit more pessimistic, but that's just kind of because he's around it every day and it's his responsibility. Can you talk about the job that he's just kind of done leading that unit in particular since he's gotten here?
I think he's done a really good job. I think that room had a high expectation before he got here and the standards and what they were expected to do. So the older guys in that room, when Cam came in and laid down, hey, this is how we're gonna do it, they had no problem with his expectation. Were things a little bit different than what was done before? They were. His coaching technique is different, which you adapt to whoever's coaching you. Sometimes you're like, sometimes you don't. I think the guys in that room have really liked what they're doing. I think he's done a really good job developing them. We'll see on Saturday. I mean, I know he's nervous. First time you're putting offensive line out, you're putting him in front of Texas A&M's front, who's one of the best fronts in the nation. He should have some pessimistic to him. If he doesn't, then he's not in the right mind frame. I'm positive because our outlook is we've got 12 football games that are guaranteed to earn the 7th game in the University of New Mexico Stadium in the New Mexico Bowl or whatever bowl it is that we can earn if we win 6 or more. My optimism is we've developed these guys, some of them for multiple years, some of them are transfers that are more talented than what we had obviously or they wouldn't be playing. My optimism is to see how that unit has grown from January to now and where I can see that unit as we get into conference play against Wyoming in week 5 and then move forward, continue with that. That's my job as the head football coach to see how they're doing. His job is to make sure that one play at a time, they don't screw up and make mistakes. And so if he wasn't pessimistic, we'd probably have the wrong guy. And that's my optimism about it. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about leadership on the defensive side of the ball. The guy who's been at the forefront of that is in the NFL now. And how has that come along? And who are the players on the defensive side that have stepped up to fill
The 3 biggest voices over there, no doubt, Tavian Combs, who was one of our vocal leaders last year, even after he got hurt. You have to be a pretty special person to be going through ACL surgery and still holding your teammates to a high demand. Cy Riley, who doesn't say a ton, but leads with leadership, and when he does say, they all listen. And then the 2 in the middle, Alec Marenko and Ray Luatele. Ray's quiet, but Ray plays the way you want a leader to play, and Alec likes to hear himself talk. So Alec has no problem telling those guys when they're doing something wrong, when they're not doing what the expectation is around here. Those 4 voices have been solid on defense. And the great thing is, Jarek and Tavian were roommates. Tavian was still Jarek is a great player, and I hope he doesn't get cut today by the Seattle Seahawks. I have a great feeling for him. They got to cut 30 players today. They've cut 20, and he's still on the list of not being, so that's awesome and outstanding. Unless I missed something, you're smiling.
Well, they waived Joey Blunt, which is up at
That's a big deal for Jarek Reed then, because he was the 4th safety, and they probably only keep 4. But Tavian still was the most powerful voice in that room. Now, they were roommates, and I'm sure Jarek at the house is probably the alpha male. He acts like it. So Tavian has done a phenomenal job, and to see Tavian and Alec and DJ all get rid of the brace that they needed. Now, DJ will wear the old lineman brace and stuff, but those guys not having to play with those braces after coming off ACL injuries, that's a testament to Bob and Jeff and our our training staff, and Derek and Connor and Tim and those guys in the training room, what they've been in the weight room, what they've been able to do and how far they've been able to excel those guys to be ready to play as if their ACLs hadn't been injured. It's awesome. What else?
I think, we all saw it through camp, but Bill in particular, just really coming in, just started ripping it from day one. When did you kind of know, when did the staff kind of know, like, hey, this is going to be our bell cow. This is going to be our 20-25 carry a game guy.
Explain who Bill, not everyone knows who Bill is.
Oh, sorry.
So Ja'Cory Merritt goes by Bill from the Cosby Show cartoon from when he was little, from what they call him back home, and that's what he goes by. That's what he introduces himself as. But his name is Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. He's the one that transfers from Alabama State. Between him and Christian, they've done some really, really good things, and they've been the 2 that have stayed the most healthy during camp. Bill runs violent. I mean, he runs very physical and very aggressive. Violence is not the right word. He runs very physical and very aggressive. We saw a lot of things in the first scrimmage that he did really, really well, and we wanted to get into game day. So we manufactured what that room did, and then Andrew, who was doing really, really well early on in camp, got rolled up and had the high ankle sprain that has really hampered his ability to develop within our offense. Those three, I mean, I can't cut Sherrod and Dorian Lewis and Zach short. Zach's probably our best pass protector guy, but you can't put a guy in only to pass protect. That room is really, really talented. That room has a bunch of guys that have a red shirt here available. So if we're smart as coaches, we'll find the bell cow, and then the other guys will manufacture that they play in 4 games and we don't burn their red shirt, and we have them for the longevity. Now, re-recruiting that room, Coach Ridenhour is going to have one heck of a job just re-recruiting the guys in his room because of the transfer portal. Because they all want to play, and if they don't want to play, then we don't want them around here. So that's going to be the biggest challenge. How are we going to keep all those guys happy, which you never will. But if we can figure it to have those two and continue on with 2 year after year, that room's got a chance to be really, really good.
In evaluating A&M, outside of just the atmosphere and the 12-man and all that outside stuff, I mean, when you're looking at that team in particular, I mean, what stands out to you the most about either how they play or how they do things?
They're very well coached. Coach Fisher does a great job. They're disciplined. They play hard. They're good schematically on both sides of the ball. They do a great job in recruiting. They did a great job before NIL. And NIL, I mean, Texas A&M is one of those places that you've got a lot of people that are very, very involved and want Texas A&M to compete for national championships and do all those things. They probably did NIL before NIL was legal, but I mean that was the way of the South. I mean that is what it is. I mean watch the Johnny Manziel story. I mean that's a heck of a deal. But I know I know Coach Fisher does things the right way. And having some of that last year, having experience now on how to deal with that, they'll be better. They are super talented. There's a reason, a definite reason that they're talked about as being a potential CFP team because they have enough talent. They've had top 5 recruiting classes the last 4 years, so they have amassed a ton of talent. So it's an unbelievable opportunity for our football team to go and play against all the guys that they hear about on ESPN and hear about all those things. And I mean, I'm really excited. I said it 2 years ago. I can't wait to go back to College Station. And I'm as excited to go back as I was when we left there.
Anything else?
Yes, Robert?
What are Dylan's best leadership qualities?
No, he's a winner. I mean, that's first and foremost. He's got a very calm presence when he talks to the offensive guys. When they're moving the ball or having success, anytime they had success, just listening to him, which during spring and all that stuff would irritate me because I'm standing back there and I'm on the other side of the ball during spring. I'm not. We're all on the same team now. Listening to him talk to the offensive line and listening to him talk to those guys in the manner and the message that he delivers, it's been a long time since I've been around a quarterback like that. And there's a reason that he's been successful. And there's a reason that the guys that are with him want to play as hard as they do. It's really fun to watch, and we got to find a way to keep them healthy. Those 5 guys up front have a big job because if we keep them healthy, Dylan's got a chance to be really good. I mean, he'll be one of the best quarterbacks in this league, and the best thing is nobody's talking about him, which is exciting. Our team as a whole, I think it's the closest that they've been, and the fact that you have 41 new guys and you can say that is really cool. They hang out together a bunch. They do a lot of things together. Now we tried to manipulate that by making them do a lot of things together and actually ended up liking each other, which is pretty cool. Gone whitewater rafting, had them over at our house swimming and paintball and dodgeball and bowling and kickball. I mean, you name it, we've done it. And now they do it by themselves. And when you have a group of guys together and you have a D lineman, a wide receiver, and a kicker hanging out and they're having a whole bunch of fun, and those guys usually never ever hang out together, you've done something right. And so that'll help us when games are close, and we plan on playing a bunch of close games. If you're willing to fight for the guy sitting next to you, you got a lot better chance than if you don't even know who he is. So there's some excitement and optimism there.
I was getting back to Jared. Got a lot of snaps in the Seahawks preseason, ton of snaps. Finished well with a strong game the other day. I think 6 tackles
He did.
for loss. He was a 6th round pick. So there's something that teams thought he did not have. Yet here he is, maybe later today, making the Seahawks roster as a late round pick. What is it that he did have that you believe, as his former coach, showed that team throughout the offseason and preseason?
I love Jared Reed. We had a very different view on how he was going to get to where he wanted to get when I first got here. And he's a stubborn young man, which is a positive, because he has high beliefs in his ability. He's unbelievable football IQ. During the COVID season in Las Vegas, we had our ups and downs. But I'm a stubborn old man too, and I tried to explain to him, you've got a really bright future, and I've done this with a bunch of guys, and if you just trust the process, you'll have a chance. I'm not taking any credit for Jared Reed making the NFL or doing that. I have a plan with a lot of guys that have his talent that we've had great success with. Jared Reed did not start the last 2 games that we won in Las Vegas in 2020 because he was stubborn and he didn't do things the way we wanted him to do them. And he very easily could have packed his bags and left when the area of the transfer portal in 21, and he didn't. Mostly he didn't, had nothing to do with me. New Mexico is the only school, and I wasn't here when they offered him. New Mexico is the only school that gave Jared Reed an opportunity to prove that he could play level at the Division I level. So he has some loyalty in himself. We had a great conversation about, look, if you do things the right way, you're going to be a great leader on this football team, and you're going to open up doors that you never have any idea. Whether it's football, whether it's he's very charismatic, he's got a degree in management, he'll be able to be successful after football because football ends on football's terms, not normally on yours. What Jared Reed doesn't have and why he went in the 6th round is Jared Reed is 5'9.5", 5'10". He's gonna get mad. He's 5'10". Okay, he's not 6 foot tall, but he's 4.4 speed. He's as strong as anybody I've ever been around. He can clean 350 pounds. He can squat 600 pounds. He is as tough as they come. Doesn't matter what he goes through. He was one of the ones we talked about. That there was no matter what he did, he wasn't going to lay down on the field. He's going to find his way to the sideline if he got bumped, nicked, and bruised. He knew how to take care of his body between weeks to make sure that he gave himself the best opportunity to be successful on Saturday. So he's doing the same thing up there. He was always in the meeting room. He was always asking questions. He always wanted to know what was next. And so Tavian has followed, like Robert asked, Tavian has followed right in his steps of how is he going to be a great player? How are those guys being leaders now that Jarek is gone? Well, Tavian is doing all the same things that Jared Reed did when he was here. That's what's going to give Jared Reed a chance to make it in that league. Now, Jared Reed is also in a perfect position for someone that got drafted in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round. Pete Carroll, who I've talked to several times because, they took Nat Berry, they took Eric Pincus when we were at San Diego State at safety. They took Jared Reed now. Because he knows how those guys are coached, he knows the expectation. Had great conversations, and I told him from the very beginning, I absolutely love this kid. He will fit in with what you guys do. He plays the right way. He does things the right way. But all that doesn't matter if Jared doesn't do everything that I talked about that he does to give himself a chance, because he's not 6'2", and that's what that league wants. They want to safety that's 6'2", 215 pounds. So when you don't have some of the tangibles they have, you have to be extra special, and I think Jared Reed is. And that's what's going to give him the chance to be successful. And if he doesn't make it through the cut today, he'll be on a practice squad and he'll find himself because of the things that he does on special teams. And that's a big change on our team, is all the guys that in the past couple of years that thought, and I'm going to pick on Joey now, Noble, who's one of our GAs, our best players, they had this idea that special teams is, well, we got other guys for special teams. I need to focus on, If you want to make it that league, you better be good on everything you do, because on Sundays, they only have 43 active players. That's not even too deep, because you got 4 specialists or 3 specialists and a backup quarterback that do not see the field. So now you're only down to 39 guys that play. So every single one of those guys play on special teams. They better make themselves valuable if they want to stay in that league. And as a coach in that league, if if the players feel that you service them and give them the ability to stay in that league, they're going to listen to everything you say. And Pete Carroll has obviously earned that. Those guys will stay in that league as long as he's continuing to coach them, because he gives them the best opportunity as long as they don't grow out of the ability by getting old and getting washed up. So normally a 5th, 6th, 7th round guy, you would ideally, it's great to be drafted, but if you have a really good agent, you can see, okay, I can make it on that team because I'm better than those guys, and you kind of put yourself in position. A 6th round guy usually didn't have somebody in the scouting room or have a GM, because all those guys want to move up and be GMs. They'll get on a 2nd or 3rd round guy and they'll push his name in meetings, and they'll push his name when they're making cuts, and they'll push his name. Well, if you don't have somebody that was attached to you that pushed your name, you better be special. Well, I think Jarek had both of that. They had some scouts that came through here and liked him. They're kind of pushing him, and then when Coach Carroll talked about him in the early OTAs, all of a sudden there's a brighter light on him, and you can go one of 2 ways as a player. You can be arrogant and think you've arrived and not do what you've done, or you can be Jarek Reed, and you can fight your tail off to give yourself a chance to make the 53-man roster. So I'm really excited because I think the deadline's 4 p.m. And if they cut Blount, that's
2 p.m.
2 p.m. mark.
yeah. If they cut Blount, then that's a positive sign for Jarek. Sorry for Blount.
So that's not an hour.
So
That should be it.
please, yes. So
You're going for 55
I want.
minutes, so.
Holy cow! Good. So Coach Fisher's watched this 55 minutes. I took preparation time. Levy's does an unbelievable job for our athletic department. They fed our football team every day during fall camp dinner, and do an unbelievable job. And I'm one of those guys now because of my family. Both of my daughters and my wife have celiacs. Whenever we go to a restaurant, I have to ask for nutritional value because my oldest daughter has type 1 diabetes. So I've become that person, which I am proud to be, because I'll fight that battle for anybody. But the Levy's people have been unbelievable. We've got what he talked about, a bacon wrapped donut hot dog. And I saw Patrick Hart back there eating it, so I'll check on Patrick here in a little bit, because now that I am CPR certified, that I force all of our coaches and stuff to be CPR certified. I got you there, Patrick, if it does anything. We've got an unbelievable barbecue sandwich. We have teamed up with Allsup's, which, coming from an Albuquerque kid that grew up in Allsup's, when the chimichangas were 75 cents when I was in high school, and you could get a bunch of them. And I'm sure there was times that they were really, really good too. But there's going to be in all of our concessions there. The pizza, we had green chili, pepperoni pizza. We had an unbelievable barbecue sandwich. The green chili, smothered cheese, french fries. All those things are going to be available in all of our concessions for both football and basketball. They do an unbelievable job. They'll be all out. I mean, we're going to have food trucks also. But this stuff, go get in line and get it. And we're going to have more people because more people want to work now. We'll have more people that will work the concessions, so the lines won't be as long. And go take advantage of what they're putting out there for us. I mean, they made my wife an unbelievable salad today because that stuff didn't have gluten. All that stuff I talked about had unbelievable gluten, which is good. So enjoy it. I'm excited about our football team, and I'm excited about our football season, and I'm really excited about all the people. Sorry that you guys had to stay so long, 55 minutes. If I took an hour of Coach Fisher's time, then we'll be better on Saturday. All right, thank you. Go Lobos.
If you need Ray Velasquez,